What is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced? Girl at work told me she hated her dad. I asked why. She said he keeps asking for money since she used his credit card for a Euro trip and left him an 80 grand bill from last year. First day as a librarian in a private school. Help a 7-year-old with the printer. He offers to tip me. Twins in high school. Birthday, I think it was 17, they get matching pickup trucks. Like the souped-up larger-than-life cool-as-duck-looking black ones. Twin A is the brat, and smashes his in some remarkable time frame. I wanna say same day. It was crazy though. Parents decide not to get him another one, though I'm sure insurance probably covered it even if it was his fault, but regardless he is going to learn a lesson. The lesson? Take Twin B's truck, he's the responsible one, and crash it on purpose. If he can't have one, neither can his brother. So much recklessness, spite, and downright illegal in what he did. Follow up, not sure if he went to prison. I do know he wasn't at school the next year, but he very well could have just dropped out. He was pretty sketchy. Twin B was actually a really good guy, but as soon as his brother was gone he became very quiet. He did eventually get some sort of car, but I remember it was much more toned down to the point I can't remember what it even looked like, but he got something. There weren't many other rich kids at the school, so this whole story stuck out as a huge event when it happened. Humble rich kid, I was a club at my college town and my roommate's new friend who drove a Raptor was at the bar. I started shooting shit and we were getting along, so I offered to buy a Y-bomb, vodka Red Bull shot. Being as wealthy as he said, "You don't have to do that, man, save your money. Round will be on me." I explained to him it didn't bother, I was having a good time, and insisted I buy the shot. Immediately after that, he pulls out a black Amex and purchases the nicest VIP booth in the club, around $3K. Then ask what drink packages they have and ask if he could buy 2 bottles on top of Max package. Looks at me and goes tit for tat. Safe to say I don't recall much after that. I went to college with a guy who totaled 5 Mustangs in a year. I don't think he was sober enough to remember any of them. My personal favorite was in college. Kid down the hall from me bought a brand new Fender Stratocaster and played with it for a day and got bored and sold it to me, case and all, for $20. I still have it and play it 15 years later. It's a great guitar. When I was in college, a friend that was heavy in the frat life told me about a freshman that got kicked out for having a servant flown to town to do the hazing chores he was supposed to do. One time a college dorm mate next door was stressing his dad hadn't yet given him money for the month, and $1,000 wasn't going to last him for the week. Meanwhile I'm having to donate plasma to afford my next meal. Life just be like that. Teacher here. 2 spring to mind, #X200B, 1. My first teaching job was at a private middle school in one of the wealthiest enclaves in the United States. I taught a kid who told me he didn't finish his homework because his helicopter had stalled over the weekend, so he couldn't leave his family's island. He was telling the truth. Same kid was also a huge pain in the ass who wanted to misbehave with the cool kids, and then would lie through his teeth while crying when held accountable. His parents knew he was a jerk and cared enough to bring me a case of wine from their vineyard as a gift every parent-teacher conference or before the holidays, but they didn't care enough to discipline their kid. 2. I now teach at a private school in Europe and I'm absolutely gobsmacked by how many parents are happy to pay $35K per year to dump their kids into boarding so they can do duck call as students and repeat grades 1, 2, 3 times because they don't make any effort whatsoever. There was this rich kid in our class who was literally disgusted by us buying used stuff, like computer parts, on eBay. Once during conversation I said I bought on eBay memory module for my PC and said to me that I should have a little dignity, and if I buy used stuff I should keep it to myself. A 14-year-old in full volume cursing meltdown, where the duck is he? Because the pilot of the private helicopter that had brought him there had gone off to get a cup of coffee. The kid was done skiing for the day and found it totally unacceptable that he had to wait 10 minutes before he got flown home. I was that poor kid who ended up getting a scholarship to a ridiculous private school. The one thing that stood out massively for me was probably how much people cared about what everyone else's parents did. Like your parents' achievements counted for yourself. My daddy just brought a new plane. Yes, a literal statement. So what does your dad do? When I replied duck all, they laughed and thought I was being cool about it. Teresa, a lot of rich kids in my particular business program in university. I met this one girl a few months ago at a social. We were chatting a bit about our program and she proudly told me about how she threatens to sue the school whenever things don't go her way. She also said something to the effect of, they have to take the threat seriously because they know I actually have the means to follow through, haha. A girl in my school was surprised by her parents in the school's parking lot with a new BMW. A freaking BMW. Everyone who is out is basically watching this go down and she starts crying. At first we are all thinking it's because she's so happy, but then she runs back into the school. Apparently they were supposed to show up earlier, I'm assuming when there would be more students to witness the surprise. I felt bad for the dad because he looked totally embarrassed and sad about it. You know, in his head he's like, I created this monster. #X200B. I really want a classic Jaguar E-Type convertible, but annoyingly you can only get second-hand ones. My college roommate's mom gave him ducking $1,400 for the weekend just randomly. He blew through the whole thing by Saturday, asked his mom for more money and was screaming at her because she promised $1,400 for the weekend and he spent most of what she gave him on Friday, which isn't a part of the weekend. Ex-girlfriend's friend said to me, "Can you believe there are people who have never been on a private jet?" Yeah, I'm one of them. I knew someone who goes out of the country just to have a haircut. A Saudi guy in the UK got in a crash, with light damage to one side of brand new Mercedes. He called for one of his assistants to come get him, even though the car was fully drivable. My friend rolled up on call with his tow truck and asked the guy where he wanted the Merc towed. The guy gave him the keys and said, "Keep it, I don't want it." GF family is wealthy, she's working her way to it. But she was waiting to get a chance for a promotion, and the words "I cannot believe anyone would make somebody work for almost a year to get a promotion" came out of her mouth. And I laughed. A long time ago I was dating a rich girl, not insane rich, but rich enough. Well, I'm from Norway and we have a recycling system for plastic bottles. You get like 10 cents per bottle. Her family had a literal mountain of empty bottles and crates in their warehouse. They had a warehouse. I asked her dad, "What are you gonna do with these?" For which he replied something like, "Oh, those are from our employees' staff parties from a couple years back. I just haven't had the time to get rid of them." Logically I told him that I'd recycle them for a percentage. He said, "Keep it all, guy." So I did. I had to do multiple trips to several different stores, but it ended up being like $1,300 bucks, which was insane money for me at the time. I bought a guitar for the money. I realize now it's not a crazy story, but for me it was insane to earn that much money for 4 to 5 hours of work because her family couldn't be asked to do it. Edit. Some of you wanted to know what guitar I got, and it was a Squier Jagmaster. I know. Luckily I spent the rest on rent and weed. I was 20 or 21, so there you go. I was a catch. Kids trying to straight up bribe bouncers and even police officers. This is less surprising when you realize they were international students from rich families where bribes are common expected. Thankfully, they learn really quick to not do that. I work in a jail. I always love when someone gets arrested and comes in screaming, "Do you know who my dad mom grandpa uncle is? He'll buy your entire jail." It's even better when their dad mom grandpa uncle refuses to come bond them out.